All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second day of our meet cycle. We already met on Monday, and the recordings for our meeting on Monday are already available in the OpenStack Manila YouTube channel. So if you missed some discussion and you'd like to circle back and understand what we discussed and check everything that happened, please refer to the OpenStack Manila YouTube channel, and the recordings are already available here. So, and then after the end of the sessions today, I will also post these recordings to the OpenStack Manila channel. So, uh, yeah, we have a lot to cover today. So I'll already share the details of the topics, and then we can jump into uh, everything that we'll discuss today. So I think we can start with LUSTRE driver, maybe. And yeah, Gotham, you're on. Would you like to get us started with the LUSTRE driver?
Hello. Yes, I can. Um,
Would you like to do the screen
click-
sharing, or would you like me to continue it?
nah, I can do it.
Okay, I'll stop screen sharing.
No problem. Thanks. Okay. Let me grab a screen for that. All right. So if you are seeing the Etherpad, you would have to un, you have to uncheck a box, and that's in your menu. It's the three dots, and then click on Close Shared Document, and you should be able to see my screen. Or if you just click on my tile, I think it'll show you the same. Right. Okay. The Lustre driver. We had a specification for this, and we discussed quite a lot of things on the specification. Um, but it's not typical for us to write a specification for a driver. I thought I needed to flush out some ideas and on how things would work with a driver like this. And it was also a good opportunity to try to get opinions from folks that were not working on OpenStack. They were working directly on HPC, perhaps, or maybe working on maintaining and developing Lustre itself. Um, so you may have seen the specification, and it was, uh, I I think, for the most part, uh, quite true to what I'm actually doing in the driver. So let me grab that. So Lustre is a large parallel file system, and its main use case has been in high performance computing. So it is the most used distributed storage when it comes to supercomputing, and it is being used for all sorts of HPC workloads, a subset of which are machine learning training and any of these artificial intelligence use cases. So there are a number of different kinds of things that probably will happen on on these kind of systems that rely on this kind of parallel file system. And we probably don't want to go into the details of it, because it's probably not that relevant as to why we're building this out into OpenStack Manila. Something I saw that quite recently is that the supercomputing space with OpenStack has been pretty pretty much an evolving scene. There are quite a few supercomputers that have been built with OpenStack, and they are currently, I mean, probably using all sorts of different kinds of storage technology, and this would be a good addition to them specifically, not just the ones in the works, but also the existing ones. Um, so, what would you do on a supercomputer that's different? Well, you would probably need a way to manage the file systems that pretty much like any other data center, and you would probably want to be able to provision to control access, pretty much like the rest of your data center workloads that Manila already serves. So I wanted to think through the same lens when designing this, and I was exploring what is possible through through the Lustre API, and what limitations exist. So I can cover some of that when we are going through the driver itself. Um, and the spec covers quite a lot of the internals of Lustre. Let me probably get started with what it'll look like inside the driver when you're accessing this. Give me one sec. All right. Let me pull up. So first things first, we need a Lustre file system on our CI system, and so I started working on a DevStack plugin Lustre, and yeah, there are some initial patches that are already in this repo. Um, I mean, but it's very minimal work that's in there. Everything else starts on Gerrit. And this is where I need some early help, right? Trying to get this stuff merged. This is just boilerplate stuff that we have for every project. So this has the pre-commit stuff, the talk stuff, and it makes it look like any other OpenStack repository, right? So in terms of the testing and so on. And the meat of it is in the second commit, which adds the provisioning plugin itself. So I have a README that tells you how you can enable this, what kind of configuration options you can set, and it'll start giving you a picture of what the Lustre file system will look like when it's connected to Manila itself. So during stack, it's going to end up installing a Lustre server on the DevStack host, and it's going to install the client packages as well. And this stuff is important because we end up using the Lustre command for all of the driver operations. Um, and it goes ahead and creates a what is that the minimum required services for Lustre itself to operate. And if you're familiar with Ceph, some of it may translate. Lustre has a bunch of daemon services, processes that handle different parts of the file system operations, and those are MGS, MDT, and OSTs. And we write out a file system. It's MKFS Lustre. Um, so pretty much like you're doing with any other kind of file system, we start out by initializing that file system, and then we mount it on the DevStack host. Um, what else? And then it configures Manila's Lustre backend, etc. And on Unstack, we clean up all of this stuff. I wouldn't go into too much of the code detail here, but the structure of this would probably be pretty self-explanatory. So on Stack, we're installing all of the Lustre on post config. We are configuring it, and on test config, we're configuring Tempest, and Unstack, we're cleaning up stuff. Um, and what does that look like? That's in this stuff in this file. We grab Lustre packages from a source called VamCloud, and right now this is being tested on I think Rocky Linux. So the initial problem that I started facing was that packages are not built by the distros, at least not yet. And so I needed to go to the to Lustre's own sources, and VamCloud's one of them. So I set up a Yum repos to pull from that particular source, and through the installation, I think it starts in setup Lustre, which is oh no, I think it's right here. So it'll create a data directory and an MGS directory. Um, and it goes ahead and calls a bunch of other methods to create its different services. And probably we don't need to get into the intricate details of these, but a lot of it should look familiar to you as we're setting up any other storage on DevStack. We kind of take up a directory, we truncate it to a particular size, and we install a file system on top of that directory, and that forms the underlying backing storage for our driver. And that's what's going on here. In the real life, probably it'll look a lot like this, except you're probably going to have a multi-node storage cluster that's backed by whatever kind of disks that you have. It could be very cheap storage to very expensive storage. All of that stuff is defined in the Lustre documentation itself. But for DevStack, for mostly, I mean, what I've been testing is both a single node and a multi-node Lustre, and this stuff is fairly sufficient for it. So we create a single OST on every DevStack node that Lustre needs to get installed on. You don't need Manila at this stage, so it's just pure, setting up a file system and so on. We do end up writing some Manila configuration, and that's very very minimal though. The rest of it is handled in the job configuration, and we also write some Tempest configuration just for convenience. Um, if you're running this on a local dev stack. And on cleanup, we end up unmounting stuff and cleaning up the loopback devices and so on, and deleting the directories that were created. This has been tested a number of times in the CI already, and it's been iterated on, trying to harden it so it doesn't fail on sometimes flakiness and so on. This looks a lot like our own Manila DevStack plugin. It defines some options that you can use with DevStack, and influence the way things are working with the Lustre stuff. So, for example, I mean, OST size begins at 5G, but we're not going to keep it at 5G in the CI. We'll bump it up to 50 gigabytes, just so that we can run tests parallelly and so on. But if you're running it locally, maybe you're just trying to test this, and if you just want to accept the defaults, 5 gigabytes might be enough. Um, what do these other options mean? Maybe we should get into the driver for that. And it also was necessary to set up a job that installs Lustre itself. So what I do is I turn off everything in DevStack and just enable Lustre, and it creates a Lustre file system with two OSTs, and it runs the job to just install stuff. But that's not fun. I think after you finish installing, you want to make sure there is some testing that's going on. So we end up, with some tests. For example, I mean, we're trying to say, have you loaded the Lustre module? Have you created the MDT and the OSTs? Um, have you created the Lustre client? And do you have all of the directories and so on? So it's just some sort of validation written in some written out as pure Ansible tasks. And outcome of it is a functional test job that runs, and it takes a while, and I'll tell you why. One of the biggest limitations of running this in CI is the stuff that we need to set up pre. And in pre setup, we are basically we are rebooting the node. And the reason we're doing that is because we are grabbing a kernel version that is not what the distro image that we have ships with. So I had two options here. One is to try to do something like this, where we replace the grub kernel with the grub commands, or we seed an image into Notebool upstream. And I just took this route because it was most expedient, and I did see that there are some of the other jobs in OpenStack that do perform reboots. So a reboot, I mean, I've tested this quite a lot of times. It's fairly consistent, and I think Zool's pretty awesome in the sense that it's already defined what a reboot looks like when you're running a node. And so far, I've not seen any failures because of this. I did some more things that the DevStack plugin already does, but that was just for expediency. So I basically want to install this before the reboot, and so even before the DevStack plugin comes in, I want to make sure that there is a Yum repository that's configured and so on. In your local machine, you're probably going to do this as well, but you're going to do this without the DevStack plugin coming into play, and that's why this is a separate playbook over here. Just a second. All right. Is this legible? Are there any questions so far?
Nope. Seems like a lot of great work, and yeah, the node reboot seems like unavoidable in this case. So I think it makes sense. It increases a bit the runtime, but I don't think that's a major problem because we have jobs that take at least twice what this one takes. Yeah. So at the same time that it slows down the execution, I don't think that's like the worst thing we saw. We've been dealing with this generic driver jobs that take a lot of time to run. So yeah, I think
Right.
compared to that, still pretty decent.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So it takes about 40 minutes to do the dev stack itself, but the tests are taking actually pretty quick. I'll go through that stuff as well. For quota enforcement, which means for sizing your shares. So if you want to try to create a shared file system on top of Lustre, the idea here, just a preview before we get into the driver code, is that on the directory that you've mounted and you have formatted using Lustre, you're going to create subdirectories, and you're going to export those subdirectories as your shares, and you're going to set a quota on those subdirectories so that the subdirectories cannot grow beyond that size. And that's the way this currently works, and that's usually what most storage backends in OpenStack, sorry, in Manila are doing. These aren't physical limits of any sort on the storage. These are actually flexible quotas, and that's what size is supposed to be in Manila. It's for most of the drivers, it's going to be like this, pretty flexible and elastic. So we need to turn on some flags in Lustre to make that possible. And we also need a concept called node maps. If you're familiar with export policies in Linux or in some of the storage backends. The idea is that you create a bunch of rules, and you have a bucket for all of those rules that you can then assign to your file system. So you can assign it to a particular share, and those rules govern what who can control access to that particular share, and that's what the who can get access, who has read write access, who has read only access, and so on. That's what the roadmaps are for. And the thing about this specifically is that you need some configuration before um, you you um, you start doing that in the driver. So the node map activation is something that the DevStack plugin will take care of for you. And also there's an admin node map, and there are two things that we need over here. Manila itself needs access to the file system to do these management operations. So if you're familiar with Ceph, it's the same thing. Manila has a user, and it has access to the root file system, and the subdirectories in Ceph. It's called subvolumes. Over here, we're just going to call it subdirectories. Those are individually given access to specific node maps. So we set up an admin node map for Manila. We're also enforcing Manila's requirement of having um, no access to these subdirectories when you begin. So that's basically the deny everybody by default. Uh, Sorry, I navigated away. Yes, Anup.
Hey, so, Gautam, if you deny everybody by default, how does mounting work? Isn't there a root path that requires the access so that the mount root path or
Yeah,
root path is actually available?
yeah. So the root only needs to be mounted by Manila. It doesn't need to be mounted by anybody else. And then the subdirectory root is what we're handing out to individual as individual shares. And so the access control is at that level. So when somebody creates a Lustre share, they're creating a Lustre subdirectory. They're grabbing that. They'll only have the export path. They can't mount it. When they do a Manila access control, like they access allow to a particular IP, then a node map is created, and then they're given that read write or read only access that they need, and that's when that export becomes active, and they can mount it, and they can't traverse out of that particular subdirectory, even if it's sitting on top of a larger directory. They can't do the root escape thing.
Got it. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the way the node map activation happens. Lustercuttle takes care of all of the commands, so you'll see this even happening in the driver. Why does the driver not do this node map activation? Because we assume that somebody is already using this Luster, and this only ever needs to be done once. So this is just a pre-setup for the entire driver to work. We don't need to do this part, which is creating an admin node map and allowing access to Manila and all that stuff. We don't need to do this again and again. So that's why the DevStack plugin's handling that. Yeah, Carlos.
Yeah, so that makes sense. And yeah, maybe I'm getting ahead a little bit, but is this part
Mhm.
of the docs? Because I think it would be the relevant piece to have there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think I've written docs, and that's where I was realizing that yesterday
Cool.
when I was preparing for this. I need to write some docs.
Oh, good.
Um,
Yeah, we have
yeah,
time,
so
but yeah, I would expect that to be as part of the docs because yeah, it's as you said, it's a one time thing, and yeah,
yeah. True, true. So this, I mean, if you're a developer and if you're running this on your local machine, there are readmes in the DevStack plugin. But yeah, we definitely want to write the admin docs for this and the configuration guide so that you can do this on a real Lustre file system. Um, what else? Oh yeah, the quotas for the root are enforced here, and you need Lustre 2.16 for this to work properly. Without 2.16, things won't work. So you're going to see a warning if you're using the DevStack plugin, and but nothing in the driver is going to fail. It's just that you're not going to get coda control. and that's going to be a weird thing. So that's another thing that we would write in the release note and the documentation, that this driver is meant to work only with 2.16 and beyond. Um, n- uh, and practically that's what people would probably end up using, because it's not just the coder control, it's also the node map logic. All that stuff changed quite a bit in the 2.16 release, and I do end up toggling some things, and I say that you don't need anything here. That's probably because I was iterating through the tests over here. And yeah, this is a DHSS false driver. We don't. I mean, there was no. Um, there's not enough constructs to build on DHSS true. At least not for this scale, and be able to test it. But I was thinking, if you're looking at DHSS true, you're probably looking at creating dedicated you know processes inside Lustre, and partitioning your tenants that way. um, I haven't I haven't really come up with a full design for that or something like that. That's something that I would want to think through, maybe with the Lustre maintainers, as to what options exists, and how you could scale out the driver in case you want to do a multi-tenant, a hard multi-tenancy deployment. Again, for the DSS false case, this satisfies all of the requirements that Manila has for DHSS false. Let's step into the driver itself. There are some other things that are required, but let's grab it. Step into the driver now. Um, it's about 2,000 lines of code, but bear with me. I mean, a lot of that is testing, and it's, I mean, unit test written the way we write for anything else in Manila. We're introducing a new file system protocol. This is Lustre. So you're going to say OpenStack share create Lustre in order to get a Lustre share, and it ties up with the driver options, and those are defined inside Lustre itself. I'll actually step into that first before I go into privsep and so on. So it basically provisions subdirectories with project quotas on top of Lustre. It requires 2.16 for access control node maps, as well as for quotas. At the minimum version, I think we start logging something if in case it's less than that. We require these options. We require an export IP, because we need to construct the export location with that. So we need to know where Lustre is getting exported from. We also require an MGS IP. This is for the Lustre Cuttle operations. Um, and all the node map commands. We require an MDS IP, because some of the I mean coda controls happen with this service. So MGS and MDS for different commands that the driver interfaces with. And if you have a distributed Lustre system, these can be different places. So the driver can communicate with different stuff. And I haven't tested this in the CI, but I've tested this quite a bit locally. I have created a multi-node Lustre cluster to try and get test this particular configuration. It felt like overkill for CI. We'll get the minimum functionality without having to distribute your Lustre. Um, where is Lustre mounted? The root file system itself, the whole file, this thing. So right now I'm just saying the default is going to be /mount/Lustre, and just a second. I don't know why my Alexa is talking to me.
So the mount path can be changed, Gautam?
Yeah. So this is part of the pre-setup. So somebody else has pre-configured this for us already. So we assume that it's going to be in Mount Lustre, but if it's not, let us know where it is. And it has to be on the host that Manila is running. So if you're running Lustre on some sort of metal, you can actually run Manila share on that same host, and have it local. So you don't need the MGS, MDS IPs. Maybe you're executing those commands directly locally. And Manila share can also live alongside Lustre in that case. Um, so if you're looking at an MDS, if you have an MDS IP, you also need an MDS mount point that's added. Otherwise, it basically defaults to the same Lustre mount point. What is the file system name? I mean, for simplicity in DevStack, it's just called Lustre. But if you have something else, what it is, it's just going to be it needs to be configured, and we tell this. And what is the prefix? Right over here, I've just said Manila shares. It can be anything you want. Try to identify what 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 shares Manila is creating by just adding a prefix to them. Project IDs. So this is for the Luster's own representation of who needs the quota. And so this is just a number, and so we're making up the project IDs on the go, and assigning it to specific file system subdirectories. NID type, this is informational for us. Informational, why? Because I tried to make the driver, um, I mean, basically transparent to whatever protocol that you're using. You could be using plain old TCP, you could be using InfiniBand, etc. I didn't want to get into the details of it because all that matters is when you're connecting to your share, you need to have this information in your export location. And so for Manila itself, it doesn't really matter apart from it will get encoded into the export path. So you'll see that this is going to be a part of the export location. And so if you could have InfiniBand or TCP, it doesn't really matter in the operation of the driver itself. It's just how you connect. Um, the SSH username and password is for when you're trying to connect to MGS, MDS sitting on different servers. On DevStack, we don't use on DevStack single node. We don't use any of this. So here's the Lustre driver in it, and so on. We grab the export path. We mount the file system. We check whether the file system is mounted. It's not mounted. Error out early. Check the Lustre version. If it doesn't work. Oh, actually, I kept thinking that we probably did a warning, but no, yeah, we're failing hard. We're hard failing in case it's not 2.16 and beyond, because I think yes, the quota control and the access restrictions are pretty significant to hard fail the rest of the driver on. Just a second, let me just switch this to a better view. What else? Yeah, and SSH execute. We are using the Manila SSH utils. So in case your MDS or MGS is sitting on a different server, you can we reuse what Manila provides to SSH into that server to execute those commands. So these are just helpers to let you do that. If you don't SSH, we are actually using privsep. And we're not using root rep because again Manila is getting rid of root rep in favor of privsep. So we execute a privsep command. The privsep commands themselves, or rather the command map is here. These are all the commands that the driver is ending up using. Hey Girish, yeah.
So means this file system doesn't support any REST API or something, because most of the things I'm seeing that we need
Yeah.
to SSH in that file system and then run the command.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't have a
Okay.
REST API natively.
Okay.
But that is something that Lustre is. I mean, it's like OpenStack, right? So we have a
Mm.
vanilla OpenStack, and we have functionality that's built by the community. But there is also, specific distributions of OpenStack that get customized and so on. So you will see in this release that there is another driver that's being proposed. It's called DDN, DDN
Mhm.
Lustre, and they have a REST API. But that's a proprietary REST API that they've built on top of Lustre. So they're probably wrapping around the Lustre commands or maybe building some special sauce on top of it. But Lustre itself only exposes this Lustre kernel.
Okay. And all the option, right, which we have the some default value that we can override through the manila.conf, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah,
Uh,
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 yeah. If something stands out, let me know. But yeah, most of it is customizable and beaten to shape with Manila's design requirement.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Um, what else? Uh, yeah, this is one place where I needed a lock because we have to use a project ID. We have to assign a project ID. So when you have multiple shares getting created, a burst operation, you don't want to reuse a project ID that you get that gets spawned on by one thread in another thread, and so this is for a this is a multi-threaded lock, so that we can assign a project ID. It's still very instantaneous. It takes a millisecond perhaps to create this particular project ID. So it's just going to be that one small critical section that we want to protect. Um, what else? Yeah, there are no restrictions as far as quotas go. So you can create. Yeah, actually, the restrictions come from Manila. So our minimum share size in Manila is 1 GB. But on Lustre you can create shares of any size. Um, so there's no real restrictions. So I'm trying to just restrict it to gigabytes just to keep up with Manila's requirement. What else? So you can't create anything else. You can only create Lustre on top of this file system. So let's probably look at the create share command. It should be pretty straightforward. We're creating a directory. We're changing the mode of the directory. We're assigning a project ID to that directory and setting a quota for that project ID. So everything in that particular share is going to get enforced with this quota, and we'll grab the export path for it. Yeah, Grish.
So permission we are giving 0755. So this is kind of means any specific reason that we are giving this kind of permission, or it should can be configurable or something like that where
Um,
user should have
I
supposed to
haven't
give for.
needed to. Yeah, it's a great question. I haven't needed to configure this. For Ceph, for instance, we allow configuration of this. Um, yeah, this is something I could think about at the moment for the kind of testing that we have. Even with Ceph, I think it came as a day two thing, the file permission stuff. Uh, and if I remember, it was because of Kubernetes that we had to, somehow allow this. But it was back when Kubernetes did not have the concept of SCCs, so we had to somehow control that at the file system level. Yeah, it's a good point. I can either fix it up right now or just add it to do for myself to follow up on that.
Yeah, sure.
Um, all right, and we store the project ID in the private storage just to remind ourselves that there is the share has a project ID because we're going to end up using that project ID in quite a bit of other operations. While deleting it, we end up cleaning up that private storage and we clear the quota and so on and flush the directory. Lustre supports extending and shrinking, which is basically quota control for us. So we go ahead and set the quota to a larger size in case of extend, a smaller size in case of shrink, and we also check for making sure that um, we are not reducing beyond less than the quota size. You can with Lustre, but Manila is asking you don't let the user do that, and so that's what we're checking for over here. Um, this is something that was not in the spec, but I added it after testing it pretty well with it. So I've even added the Tempest tests for it. So you can use manage and unmanage with this driver. It look a lot like how it'll look with anybody else. We have the manage path. We grab the manage path. We find the directory. We make sure that we grab the size of that directory and plumb it back into Manila so that we can be aware of how much size has been consumed. Yeah, Anup.
Yeah, just to understand it correctly, so there is a one-to-one mapping between the project ID and the share, right?
Um, yes, there is.
And there cannot be multiple shares in the same project ID. Is that a limitation that is by design, or is it something that we are enforcing?
It is something that we're enforcing also because we're not tying into directly the tenant concept in Lustre.
Okay.
Because of our multi-tenant driver design, I could not reconcile with the same, um, you know, uh, concept. And beyond quotas, there wasn't much that was happening with the project IDs over there. It's worth watching that space because I don't know if that'll evolve, and maybe when if that evolves, that's where our DHS's true implementation would tie into. Um,
Mhm.
but right now it's for quota control, and so I thought, if I could have one project per share and set the quota using that, that's where I will control my share size. um,
Okay, so that is what it is enforcing right now. How
Correct.
about the access control?
Yeah,
That also
yeah,
will come
I'll
into picture, right?
yeah, exactly. Let me get to that, and I will show you
Sure, sure.
something in terms of how that works. um, so manage and manage, and then hey Krish, yeah.
So in managed case, actually, we are bringing the new, backend to the our OpenStack. So do we need to set the quota in that case also
No,
in
we don't need
OpenStack?
to I mean, manage doesn't allow you to set a size with
Mm-hmm.
Manila. We surface whatever size the share already has. So you can bring it into Manila and then
Okay.
share. You can extend or shrink your share. But while you're
Yeah.
bringing it, you can't set a size.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
But ideally, if you see
no,
that
no,
we are
actually,
adding.
wait. I'm sorry. There is
Mhm.
a driver option size. Hold on a second. We are grabbing the size from the driver options. I'm not sure I'm testing this particular functionality, but for most uh, common use cases, you already
Mhm.
have an existing share, right? And it's already being used. It's probably been provisioned outside of Manila. So what we want to do is grab the share as is and
Mhm.
represent it inside Manila.
No. Yeah. So Manila side also we need to have update the quota because you are getting one extra object in Manila, right? Which we
hmm
need to monitor kind of things.
Yeah, that's right. And that's something that the driver is not doing. The core
Yeah.
Manila API is doing that already.
Okay. 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 Got it. Okay. I mean, score should be supposed to be handle that. Okay.
Exactly. So when we
Mm-hmm.
return the size back from the driver, that's what the share
Mm-hmm.
manager is doing. It's adding
Okay.
the,
Okay.
the stuff back into the tenant's quota and so on.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Um, some more helper methods. This should be pretty explanatory. I think the next big thing is update access. So here's where I think there is a little bit of a difference with other file systems. So when you have an export policy, in this case, it's called a node map. You can't mix read only and read write rules. So this is a limitation that I'm finding through testing. And when you, and so it feels like I need to change this design from using one node map per share to using exactly two node maps per share, one for read only access and one for read write access. And so you can have any number of node maps per share, by the way, and as long as the rules that you have are not clashing. So, I mean, as an end user, you probably don't want read only and read write access to the same IP for the same share. That would be kind of silly, right? Like, so in Manila lets you do that, and the last one wins in some cases, but it's a very undefined behavior as far as this goes. So with Lustre, you're actually going to see a failure It is going to set the rule to error. So whatever comes next, whatever comes second is going to lose. So if you have read-only access from the IP and you try to give read-write access to the same IP, the read-write access rule will fail. um, it'll be set to error. It's just something that the backend storage enforces, and not something that we want to control from Manila. But right now, in this driver, the way it's written, it only uses one node map for the entire share. What does that mean? Well, you can't. I didn't realize earlier on that I can't mix read-only and read-write rules inside a node map. It got confusing. Lustre lets me do that, but when I end up mounting the share, whatever clients have read-write access, I mean, the rest of the clients also end up getting the read-write access. So read-only rules are not getting enforced. That was the limitation. And so I actually tested this with two node maps, and that stuff works. So I need to be changing this method to start to separate out read-only rules and read-write rules, and then apply them as two separate node maps. A pretty simple change. I just have it locally. I haven't pushed it up yet. But I don't know if that answers your question, Anup, where you were asking about what the project ID and node maps are tied up like. They're not. You can share node maps across project IDs, but I also took the choice of saying we'll just create node maps that are unique to the shares.
Okay, got it. So node mapping is basically the export rule, right? That
Yeah,
actually
in
kind of
NetApp, I think is
manages
it
the access. Yes.
I think it's you call it an export policy, and then you have individual rules
Yes,
inside the export policy. Yeah, it's a similar thing that.
right. Got it. Sure.
Yeah, Carlos.
Yeah, so in case we're going for two node maps for each share, which is,
Mhm.
I think, the update that you are proposing, is there still the need to check which one, or would, for example, if the same access is provided both in the read only and the
Yeah.
read write, do you also need to check for that, or is it going to ignore one of them if you don't?
It's not it's not going to ignore one of them. It's actually going to, I mean, it's going to be inconsistent firstly, because when users end up adding access rules, they're doing it one by one. But when Manila presents it to the driver, it's ending up batching it, right? So technically, if the user has added 10 rules in succession, they're coming up very, very fast, and then Manila batches all of them. It is in the order that we process this list. And so the second rule that gets applied is going to fail, and it's going to set it to error. So this is something that I can clarify in documentation, saying that, I mean, it's kind of a silly thing to do, right? Like, why would you have both, I mean, read write and read only access added to the same client? So don't do that, because you're going to see that one of them doesn't take effect, and you'll have to figure out which one it is by doing an access list. And um, you know what did you get? Like, did you get read only, or did you get read write? Because um, how it is enforced is not something that you control, for instance.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. And I think on the manage, I was also remembering something, and
Mm.
maybe we cannot actually use some predefined size.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's actually something that is a bit dangerous, honestly. I mean, I think there is, if I recall correctly, Dell used to do it. Like there was
yeah.
a specific size set, and we would get it. But yeah, I think it's there's a chance that we'll end up, I don't know, consuming less quota or more quota than we should, considering what the share is already like having configured. So yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
that's a
something.
fair point. Yeah, I agree. And as I was going through this code, I was wondering what was I thinking? So yes, I'll end up fixing that. Hey, Anup.
Yeah. So just one such example on tap side, right? On the tap side, the way we handle conflicting rules
Mhm.
is by assigning priorities to the rules that are set.
Yeah,
So basically, a rule that is below in the export policy, takes a lower priority versus the rules that are on top, take the higher priority. So based on the index, we can actually, define what will be the priority if there are conflicting rules. So maybe we can adopt something like that in such cases where we can actually have a priority set based on, the first come first serve, or maybe, someone who overrides the priority, the access rules
Yeah.
can actually,
So I think at some point we had a uh, access rule. I think we had a spec in Manila that was planning to do this access rule prioritization. I don't
Mhm.
think we,
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, I don't think we ended up implementing that. This is quite old, but yeah, uh, we went down a different direction. So yeah, today with any driver, there is no way of specifying the access rule priority. Um,
Okay.
so that is you know maybe an enhancement that we could do, but I don't know how you could enforce that with something like this. Um, where
Mm.
basically the idea is, I mean, I know the use case for what you're saying. Like for example, imagine you want to create your export policies first, and then you want to be able to add something and change the priority of it, right, so that it can override it
Right.
for a while, and then you pop off the priority later on when you don't need it, but you're not touching the rest of your export policy as such. So it's a
Right.
nice
Right.
efficiency thing, and it's something that I don't know how it will get supported by Lustre itself. Like it needs to have the concept of priority inside, and I'm not sure the driver
Manila.
can work around that.
Mm. Agree. Okay, I think that is a good point that, I think if you can send us the link of that spec, maybe we can ponder upon and see how we can improve on that.
Sure, yeah, can do.
Okay,
I don't know whether this was a spec, by the way. I'm going to just drop it in here because I mean, my memory is mush about something that we discussed ages ago. Um, but take a look if that one has it. If not, it might be in like a wiki or something. Uh,
sure.
all right. Okay. So no IPv6 access. Not something I can do. Um, but just like anything else, Manila's design expects that if you have an IPv6 rule that you get, you are you're ignoring it. You're not raising an error. And so that's what we're doing, and that's because I mean, without that, the Tempest tests are going to fail, because I mean, we've actually enforced Tempest tests that say you can't prevent us sending you IPv4 and IPv6 rules. It's something that the administrator needs to have taken care of, and they didn't. So it's not your fault, dear user, because we're gonna still accept your rules. That's Manila's stance on this. So that's what we'll do. Um, what else? Yeah, I have no other access but IP access, and yeah, this should look fairly straightforward. Yeah, so this is how we're doing the access level, but this is where I'm thinking that we should probably do the two node map stuff, so that we can delineate a read only access and a read write access, and you could delete any rule that you've had, because we're not going to check for the IP rule and error route. So in case you did add something by mistake, um, you can clean that up. There is a requirement for Manila to reconcile access. This is during ensure shares. So we'll grab everything in access rules and we'll add those access rules and some more helpers. Update share stats. It's a pool space driver with just a single pool. So we're going to send everything up in that. It is a thin provisioning driver. I have tested oversubscription with this. We don't have many tests in Manila that exercise this, but I've tested how the oversubscription is working and so on. There are no snapshots in Lustre. It needs to be implemented in maybe an underlying disk file system, uh, but it's not something that Lustre provides. And that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, ensure shares. Um, we are just making sure that the directory exists, and if it doesn't exist, we return an error state. Otherwise, we request to be reapplying access rules, because we can just recreate the node map fairly cheaply. And that's pretty much it on this driver. Any questions so far?
Oh, no, no further questions on my end. Oh, yeah, Anup, please go ahead.
About how do they how does Lustre prevent bully volume or bully share scenario? Is there some kind of a QoS enforcement as well that is available, or that is something that is planned for future, or is it
Um,
not present in Lustre today?
it's a very good point. I know I've not seen anything of that sort. So it's worth, like, checking in with the Luster folks for myself. Um, but I mean, to answer that though, I'm thinking, what is the use case for it, and how it'll work. Um, in a HPC environment, the requirements for work are a lot different than a traditional enterprise environment or a telco environment or something like that. So in terms of seeing bad actors, it's mostly a trusted environment. Um, you know, uh, so
Mhm.
I don't know whether the QoS requirement will be that high in these environments. But yeah, maybe if it does, it'll be something that the driver can take advantage of and expose to.
Right. Okay. Got it.
So that's this. I'm just gonna keep my question over there. Feel free to give me any comments, and I will address those. There is a Lustre driver job that is running, not on this patch itself, but in a derivative patch, and that's here. Uh, so it's a Lustre this thing. So it's right now. Where is it? Yeah, it's right now failing, and that's because I need a patch to merge before that. So it's the sort of thing where we've established dependencies on different dependencies. So I need a client image to exist for Manila to be able to run some tests. And this client image is being built by Manila image elements. So this needs to merge before anything can happen. Um, I oh, okay. I see. I didn't notice, but that's weird. Zool didn't fail, but it gave me a comment. So I added an element inside the Manila image elements, and this is the Lustre element. It creates a Lustre client, bakes it into you can use Rocky Linux, you can use CentOS Stream, you can use Alma Linux. So still an RPM based distribution, because I did fight the battle for Debian and Ubuntu, and I was losing all the time. I just could not find good ways to grab packages that somebody else has built, or even try to rebuild my own packages. So you'll see this element, uh, and our own scripts evolving because of it. Um, and this is what it looks like. It's the same source to grab the client packages as well, and we would patch reboot um, the image and install the raster client inside it, and that's pretty much what this stuff is doing. So I need this merged in order to be able to test stuff. But if we go back, oops, into the Lustre Tempest plugin, I was on this errand only after a while. You can see patch sets. Um, I mean, the earlier patch sets would have seen Lustre running just the API tests and passing. Um, so it's the latest patch sets that I'm starting to put the scenario tests in, and that's where it's failing, because I need an image to be able to run the scenario tests. So first things first, I wanted to request reviews on that Monolith image elements patch. Once you Once you approve that patch, it's going to go through and put up uh, a Lustre image that the Tempest plugin ends up using. As you can tell from the Zool job here, I've asked for an image called, just a second, am I overriding that? Hmm, weird. At some point, or yeah, I've disabled the image, the service image, but maybe there is something in the pre playbook. Let me grab that. Anyway, so this is the Lustre job. Look, it's planning. We're planning to run it only on master and every other branch. Fancy way of saying don't run it on previous stable branches. Um, and and before you run it, you need DevStack plugin Lustre. You also need to do the pre-kernel. So it's pretty much the same script that you saw in DevStack plugin Lustre, where we are doing the kernel prep and rebooting the node. And the rest of the driver configuration is fairly straightforward. Uh, there isn't much that you have to configure in the gate. The default configuration works, and the Tempest options for that. And I had to minimally change our Tempest plugin to allow Lustre and to override some tests. I realized when I was doing this that these tests will get executed no matter what with NFS. And so I have to override them even if I'm not changing the logic of the test. I guess that's just the way we've written this test. So don't have a choice. And that's what we're doing even for SEFFS and so on.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is the scenario test prep. Again, same things, grabbing the export path and figuring out the export uh, version, I guess. This for the tests to be able to take advantage of it. How do you mount a share? How do you allow access to Lustre? So it's mount minus t Lustre, the location and the target directory. And we grab all of the tests that were there previously by just creating another class for it. And this is the same kernel prep that you saw. Yeah. So my ask here is, I think let's review the image elements patch and then rerun this stuff. Um, because it is running and passing locally, I want to make sure that it's running and passing on the CI as well. And that might help you see the results and see how the Manila Share Manager is processing all of that stuff. I think it's here. This is where. Oh, I need to collapse these two patches. So I was wondering where I was putting that stuff. It was a do not merge patch because I'm just trusting this, and it doesn't exist yet. So this will exist when we merge the Manila image elements patch. And I was just running the Lustre scenario tests here again and again and again until it was passing, and at some point I switched the image, and that's why it's failing. All right. Any questions so far?
Nope. Yes. Great job on this. Yeah, looks pretty solid already and pretty well tested.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks for the reviews. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them on the reviews directly. I'm quite excited for this. This is, I mean, I want to put my employer's hat aside. This is not anything that Red Hat's probably going to ship or anything of that sort. It was purely motivated by the fact that the scientific computing community here in OpenStack has always been looking at Manila, and they've liked working with Ceph. But then when you're looking at when you already have the use case for Lustre, there is no way to interact with Lustre. There were quite a lot of presentations that folks have made where they've tried to customize it on their own, and I felt that there was a gap between Lustre's own capabilities that were filling in very fast in the recent years, and then being able to write a Manila driver. I felt like you know I don't know whether it was documentation or just the fact that you need to know how to work with OpenStack, that there was no attempt at upstreaming a driver for this. But when I started working on it, I started getting a huge deal of support from the Scientific Linux folks and the Scientific OpenStack folks. So I think it's a really nice way to bridge communities if you have this driver running and being used and evolved. Awesome. Um, all right. If there are no further questions, that's what we have about Luster. And I guess could I probably sign up some reviewers for this?
Yes, please. Can sign me up too. I've been planning to look at some things. I think I have looked at some changes. Some of I haven't posted the reviews yet, but I started.
Aw- Awesome. Thank you. Will do.
Right. Any other questions for Gotham?
Thank you, Anup.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, Girish, as well. Uh, Carlos, can I take the next topic too and run with it,
Yeah.
or do we want to take a break?
I think we can do the break after the next topic. That should be okay. Next one is VirtioFS, right?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Or
Cool.
is it another one that we're thinking about?
No, VirtioFS is good. Thanks, Vida. Thanks, Girish. Yes, I can start with VirtioFS and let's get there. All right, VirtioFS. All right. So VirtioFS as a sorry, let me grab the right batch. Yeah. So VirtioFS has been a thing since the epoxy release, and Nova created a design for it and went ahead and implemented it. Most of it was done by Hene Ribord from the OpenStack compute team. He's the PTL for for the Nova project. And then as busy teams get busy, Nova itself was trying to find feedback on this from operators and from the Manila community to try to evolve that any further. And part of the feedback that we saw was that people were nervous to get this in because there was no client support and SDK support, and we tackled that earlier in this release. And they also wanted the rest of the Nova operations to work as is. Um, so cold migration was one of those. So that's the big focus on this release, is to go through a bunch of instance actions that you can do on Nova and make sure that those things work with VirtioFS shares. So I had a patch to support cold migration, so we can start there. Um, or no, actually, let's start with the patch to support the testing. That may be an easier one because this is testing existing stuff in WordOFS. Um, and Carlos, do you mind me giving an overview of this, or do
No,
you want
that's
to?
good. Yep.
Okay, I'll just give you an overview of this, and any questions can be directed at Carlos. But yeah, so this enables a new feature called share attachments. So if you have share attachments added, then we will go ahead and run some VirtioFS tests. What are these VirtioFS tests? We are okay. Actually, these are helper methods. Let's look at these first. How do you attach to a server? You can call the attach share API in the servers, and so in Nova, you can list those attachments. You can show the attachment, and then you can detach as well, unmount. This is mount and unmount inside the server, and some cleanups. So basically, you can detach. I think the detach API is just hidden inside the wait for shared attachment, but sure. No, it's here actually. So you can. These are the operations that you can do um, on any server, and this is the scenario test that Carlos introduced. We're using NFS, but we could be doing this with CEFFS as well, and you will see that just basically a very small subclass that's enabling this for CEFFS. Um, and what is this? Attach share to a running server. Oh, okay. Um, i- the name is probably a little misleading. It is a running server, yes, but we end up stopping the server to attach the share because that's what cold attaches are. They expect the server to be shut down. So we go ahead and attach. We when we're doing that, we know that Nova is reaching out into Manila and asking for the access rule to attach that share, and we wait for that access rule to be active. And once that is done, we go ahead and start the server. Um, and we, just a second. Yeah, Girish.
So, so I'm correlating this flow with the sender actually, where we have the logic of sender volume. You can go and attach that one,
Hmm.
and once you attach, it's kind of you're creating the file system on that, and then you can just mount that and write the data. So here it's we are using the remote file system, right?
Correct.
So how you are going to export means attaching that one to the some Nova VM. It's kind of mounting, or you're creating the file system on top, just like Nova is doing.
Oh no, no. That's the whole point of Manila, right? You don't need to format this thing. You bridge the file system,
Uh,
and yes, so it's the remote file system that shows up in Nova. In VirtioFS, there is, I mean, the
mm,
concept is that there is a there are libvirt extensions.
mhm.
So technically, the host attaches to the host mounts the share, and the guest can mount the share from the host. So there is a
Okay.
VirtioFS daemon that listens to the guest connections, and if the guest says, "I would like to mount this particular share from this particular tag," the VirtioFS daemon knows what you're talking about, and it exposes that particular directory to the guest.
Okay. 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 So here Nova VM is the host, or it's kind of a guest VM?
Nova VM is the guest here.
Guest. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Nova itself is the host. Basically, it's managing the hypervisor, which is the host. So Nova
Right.
is doing the initial mounting and exposing it up to the Nova VM.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, Pretty cool. You know, uh, you know, methods here that Carlos had written out to verify that we were testing the Manila API very well as far as the VirtioFS mounting process goes, right? So we know that Nova is creating access rules, and we know that it's locking those access rules. So let's go test for those things. Make sure that those locks are removed when the detachment is happening, um, and make sure that we are testing the locking itself. So all good stuff. And we finally come to the first test here, which is the um, test share mount via VirtioFS. And you'll see that it boots up an instance, and then it creates a share, and then it SSHs into the instance, make sure that there is no share um, in the instance. So you can't really use VirtioFS yet, and then it starts doing the VirtioFS flow. So it attaches the share to the server, and then it asks the instance to mount the share via VirtioFS, write something into that share, and then read it back and verify some things on the Manila side and detach the share. So basic end-to-end workflow of the VirtioFS logic as an end user would do it, and then do the same thing with multiple shares. and do the same thing. I think one more test was there. No, that was it. Okay, so there are two test cases that are enabled in this stuff, and we are enabling those tests in the FFS job in this patch, and that's been running and passing. So let me grab that. Or not. I don't know why this run didn't work, but let me check. Oh, whole bunch of failures. I'm not sure what happened here, but I can take a look. Um, but at some point, I do know that this was running and passing, so maybe the latest run hit something.
Maybe it's the issues with concurrency. I'm not sure if you
Was
fixed
it?
that, but there was the issue with the concurrency on the Lux release. I'm not sure if
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, okay. So
there's
yeah, we found a
something
bug,
happening.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we hit a bug, and there's a bug fix in Manila itself for that. So maybe that's what's going on. But I can show you the same thing against LVM. So this is a SFFS specific thing that it gets exposed, but in LVM, I don't think, or maybe I had a dependency on the LVM patch. Um, that's code migration tests. Uh, Huge list of dependencies, and this is where I'm looking for reviews so that I can stop, adding these many depends-ons. Um, so this patch builds on top of Carlos's patch to add the VirtioFS testing. And it does that. It exercises cold migration and resize. So there are multiple tests again added over here. Uh, Try to run a cold migration when you have VirtioFS shares. So it'll look a lot like the previous test, except it's also going to try to migrate the share, migrate the VM, um, and so it will need a multi-node dev stack or a multi-node system to run. So this cold migration is not possible, let's say, in a single node thing. I mean, Nova prevents you from doing that, and we don't want to hack Nova to make that this thing. So there are enough functional tests taking care of this stuff in the Nova side. So I think there are four tests here. One was cold migration end to end, just a happy path, and cold migration revert, I mean, just the resize with cold migration, and resize revert. So the share, you can also resize the share. You can change the flavor of the share, not the share. What am I saying? When you can resize the VM, you can change the flavor of the VM. You can increase the RAM, decrease the RAM, increase the CPUs, etc. So that's what we're testing. So we're testing all of that stuff works with VirtioFS. And yes, part of this was a huge number of dependencies here. Uh, let's go through them one by one. This is Nova. So the code migration support doesn't exist in Nova today for VirtioFS. So this is getting reviewed in Nova itself. I would appreciate some reviews if you can, but we also uh, problems here in the. Oh, sorry, I'm not.
Okay. Yeah, I think you clicked the thing, but it didn't.
Yeah, it went into a different tab, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so this is the Nova change. It's adding code migration knowledge with shares. A bulk of this is about how we handle attaches and access control, access allow and access deny, and we have to just basically parse it into methods so that it can basically become easier to invoke from the different places when you need it to test code migration. So code migration, you could start a migration and then you could say, oh, I changed my mind, I'm going to come back, right? So you need to be able to reuse some of the code in Nova, otherwise it'll start looking very ugly. So that's what this stuff is. Um, I don't think I hit any major thing to worth describing here. It was fairly straightforward to think through it because of I mean, Henry had done a great job of writing the code in a very organized way. I probably just was moving some things around so I could reuse some things. and there was a lot of understanding of how stuff is organized in Nova. I didn't know that, so uh, that's probably what took time. And let's go back. I think what's more interesting for us is the Manila side of things. I do depend on this merged change. We also had another merged change in Tempest recently. And I think all of those are still in dependencies. We can clean them up. The third dependency is this. This is the bug fix. So what we're doing is eagerly cleaning up the share instance access delete on every instance mapping. So we needed it to be happening on the last one because an instance can have any, multiple access rules. So and this was surfaced only with cold migration, right? So basically, you had two different hosts having access to the same share. So the existing tests then exposed that the cold migration needed that. So that's where we hit a problem. Uh, that's what this code fix is about. So I'm just moving the lock, lookup and cleanup logic outside of the mappings. So after you finish deleting the access mappings, we look for we make sure that there are no further instance mappings, and if there are none, then go ahead and delete the locks associated with that. That's what this bug fix is. Again, it seems fairly straightforward. Let me know in case it doesn't, if something stands out in this. I am adding a test that basically does a multi-access rule, um, multi-instance rule. Step back. This was the Tempest change that merged as well. So Tempest is where some of the schemas are defined, and that's why we have to modify Tempest every time we're trying to invoke some API for Nova. And this is another bug fix in Nova itself. Dan's asking me for some reorganization of this, but it's getting some pretty good attention. Basically, we're saying that when you're using IP-based access rules, you have to the denied share is checking all of the instances, and needs to check all the instances, but sometimes it's leaving orphaned rules behind. And this will cause a problem because Manila would have locked an access, and it won't let you drop it, and because it won't let you delete the share at all uh, if you have a locked access rule. So if Noah forgets about it, it's a problem. Somebody needs to clean that up, and that's what that bug fix is. And I think that's the last one. Just a sec. Oh yeah, that is the last one. Um, some of it is not added as depends on, but I wanted to walk through some of the other stuff as well very quickly. I don't want to bore you here, but we started merging a bunch of things in Manila test image. If you're not familiar with this project, I should probably take you to the project itself. Ooh, I mean, I think an AI overview of it is probably better than me trying to explain it. So it provides a bootable file Linux image built with build root. The idea for this and the innovation for this totally belongs to I mean a mentor in the community of mine from the past, Ben Swartzlander. Ben started the Manila project, and for us for a long, long, long time, it has been a challenge to try to test stuff with limited resources. When we run Tempest, we believe that we're running an integration test on all of OpenStack. Why is that? Because we're trying to boot VMs, and we are trying to attach them to networks. We're trying to use glance images for those VMs. And backed by some sort of bootable disk and so on. So it feels like we're doing the heavy lifting of testing when we're just trying to verify that Manila is working as well as it's supposed to be. And that's where the challenge has always been, using these heavyweight Linux images. So the Ubuntu image when I started working on Manila was about 100 megabytes, which was really cool back then. But over time, it's now about a half a gigabyte, and it needs quite a lot of resources to run. So we've been playing a lot with concurrency of the tests and so on, trying to not have random failures. What do those random failures look like? You're all very familiar with it, because when you're running your test, you'll randomly see that the LVM driver job failed to pass because a Nova VM failed to boot, or a Nova VM's SSH failed, and so on. So you would not have hit any Manila issues, but you would start hitting issues because we're not able to we don't have enough resources to run Nova VMs. Some of the VMs are slow, the test VMs themselves, and so on. So it was always a desire to try to find a really lightweight image, except look out in the Linux distro land, everybody is solving this problem differently, and we weren't just able to find a pre-canned image that'll have NFS, it'll have CIFS, it'll have CEFFS, it'll have whatever you want. And so that's why we were relying on the image elements and using the base distros, from I mean Linux, from Ubuntu to Rocky Linux to CentOS and so on. So Ben started working on this, and he left behind some enough breadcrumbs for me to pick up now. And I actually got a very minimal image to work. It provides all of these, and I'm concentrating right now only on the client parts, and it is 16 megabytes, the image itself, and this is QCOW2. And if you blow it up, it's I think 120 megabytes. It occupies a disk space. I mean, I think I didn't reduce the flavors too much, but I mean that's all it needs. It doesn't need much disk space. Maybe you give it a gigabyte and it's happy. It's like, wow, you're rich, right? And and there is this the concept of vCPUs. It just needs one. It only needs about 32 MB of RAM to run, and it alters our scenario tests dramatically. So what used to take about 2 hours to run now takes about 40 minutes. So that's because of the number of VMs that we can boot. So I actually removed all of the concurrency control, and we can now run with 8 concurrency. So we are now bound by how fast we can spin up the Nova VMs or something, rather than how quickly we can boot, because the boot is now within seconds, as opposed to minutes, in the order of minutes that we were booting the Ubuntu VM when we were testing. And why did I need to do all this? Because there was no way I was going to run cold migration tests on the CI without this. Um, that was the biggest limitation, because anything that you try to put in, which requires shutdown, reboot, startup, whatever, it was just overwhelming our tests, because each time you start up a server, we were waiting a good 4 or 5 minutes for cloud init and things like that to take effect, for the SSH key pair to take effect, for the network connections to take effect, and so on. It was ridiculous. And so throw that into the mix with having to stop and start servers inside the test. It was just adding way more time. So the tests were taking forever. It was always timing out. So I could keep bumping the test time out, but not get anywhere with it. So that was the limitation that I needed to start working on this back again. So this is ready right now. I used a bit of ninja merging as well as Carlos's help to land an image. You can see it is 16 megabytes. Actually, download it, play with it. I've been using it locally as well for testing. It is pretty fast, blazingly fast. So if we could do the server side image as well, we can make the generic driver job also blazingly fast. Yeah, Grish.
So, means you are using these images to building your Nova VM, right? So, which you can use in your test environment.
Yes.
So, means just want to update here. So, NetApp driver actually it's supporting the Cinder caching feature actually,
Hmm.
where you can means create the 100 VM in 5 seconds or something like that. So we are using internally clone technology for copying that image, okay, and then booting the Nova VM from that image actually. So a lot of customers are using means if you want to use, you can use the NetApp storage to when as a sender backend to bringing those Nova VM. Actually, those are very fast.
I
just
see.
just just yeah.
Nice plug, and thanks for mentioning it. But this is stuff on the upstream CI, right? And this is on.
Okay.
I mean, these are providers across the world that have donated their resources for CI,
Mhm.
and we try to use a very minimal flavor to what is that to actually run our CI jobs. You'll see that they're running with I think 8 vCPUs and 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's what we've given a single node dev stack. So even if you do multi-node, you don't really have those many resources besides that, and we don't even have disk. Um, so that's the story. So unless NetApp's going to donate a bunch of ONTAP clusters to these cloud providers, I'm not sure we can take advantage of that.
Yeah, sure. Got it.
Yeah. No, but that is really cool for a practical use case. Nobody's using Manila test
Right,
image in a real cloud, right? I hope
right,
they're not.
right,
This is for
right.
our own CI and stuff. But I wanted to contrast that with Manila image elements. You can see
Mhm.
this is the service image that we are building and using right now today. So the last service image that we ended up building um, in 2022 was 800 megabytes. Or the current one I think is sitting here. It's 798 megabytes, so it's 800 megabytes. Um, and same thing with the XFFS version. So that's how much disk space each VM will end up using just to boot the image.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Anyway, so let's get back. So that quick diversion there is to show you what else happened in this space for stuff. But I'm not looking for reviews there because it's mostly done. Um, but the I am starting to use that particular image everywhere. You will see that there is a uh, one sec. Yeah, there's a patch here currently failing. I don't know why, but I will check it out. Um, that is planning to do this um, for all of the drivers that need a service image um, to test, and it is going to reduce the runtime of these test jobs. Um, and right now it's failing. I'll figure out why. But that was not that was kind of tangential to the code migration and the VirtioFS stuff. Any any other questions with VirtioFS code migration? What our plans are, etc.
No questions on my end. Yeah, just great job on the code migration stuff. It's yeah, a lot of great work, and also working on the image. It's going to be really helpful for the CI. I also saw the like I mentioned, you shared in the TC meeting the other day, and it's really something that
Yeah,
would be nice for other projects too. So maybe yeah, other projects can also look into this approach and take Manila as an example because it's a long discussion, like long time discussion that all of the teams have been having related to how like to speed up our testing and yeah, do stuff like that. So I do think it's valuable for the whole community, and yeah, it's really impressive. So thank you for working on that, and also for picking up the code migration, and also the helping the clients merge earlier in the cycle.
yeah, Yeah, you're welcome. It was really interesting stuff and pretty cool to see it working. Um, yeah, I think that's all I had for VirtioFS. So I'll stop screen share. I did have to step away. I will still be listening. I'll try to listen after 1500 UTC. But I am just going to be in listen mode and maybe typing, uh, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, all good. Thank you. So I think we've been in this meeting for some time. What about a 5 minute break, and then we can get back to the other topics. We still have a bunch to cover. Maybe we can move the eventlet removal towards the end. It's still important, but yeah, maybe we can push that to the end and then get to the drivers discussion, because we have plenty of discussion on drivers as well. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Right. So 5 minute break, and then we are back to discuss, to go to all of the other discussions we have scheduled for today. I'll break the recording up right now.